Welcome to your week in review here on WINN FM 98.9 for the period August 11th through 16th. Making the news last week,
St. Kitts and Nevis contingent prepares for Carry Festa 15.
the Grange Healthcare Facility commemorates 25 years of compassionate care and community dedication. People's Action Movement leader advocates for economic diversification beyond tourism.
Sean Richards accuses the St. Kitts Nevis government of ruining the economy.
PAM leader Natasha Gray Brooks unveils People First agenda amidst criticisms of current administration. St. Kitts and Nevis modernizes banking laws to enhance financial security and trust. Government passes special sustainability zone authorization bill. Conch shell reefs boost marine life in St. Kitts and Nevis. St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister on Qatar investors for sustainable future. United Nations Committee to draft new global tax framework. CARICOM advocates for small island developing states. Now the details.
Thousands of visitors and locals are expected to attend events across Bridgetown, Barbados at the 15th edition of the Caribbean Festival of Arts, Carry Festa 15. On August 14 in St. Kitts, a press briefing was held to focus on Carry Festa 15, confirming funding and support for an official contingent from the Federation to attend. Samal Duggins, minister responsible for the Ministry of Creative Economy, expressed that Carry Festa not only celebrates Caribbean heritage, but also serves as a platform to reimagine the region's cultural future. The event is expected to boost cultural tourism and create new opportunities for local artists and entrepreneurs. The St. Kitts and Nevis delegation will include approximately 100 persons. The week-long festival, which runs from August 22 to 31, 2025, aims to showcase the rich diversity of Caribbean culture through music, dance, film, visual arts, fashion, literature, culinary, and wellness, among others. Carry Festa 15's theme, Caribbean Roots, Global Excellence, highlights the unity in Caribbean culture and the impact that it continues to have globally. St. Kitts and Nevis is included in a list of approximately 25 nations that will attend. In addition to cultural performances, Carry Festa 15 will feature a robust schedule of workshops, exhibitions, and panel discussions. The Big Conversations, the symposium, will be part of the celebrations, while the popular Youth Village returns to give creatives a platform to showcase their talents and engage in mentorship programs with established creatives. A standout feature of Carry Festa 15 is its commitment to innovation, with planned climate-related initiatives, including a green vendor policy, solar charging stations, and e-waste collection. Barbados is hosting Carry Festa for a third time, following previous opportunities in 1981 and 2017. For the event's 15th hosting, Barbados underwent significant development projects, including the Richard Stout Amphitheatre and a 45,000 square foot Carry Festa Village and a Grand Market.
The Grange Healthcare Facility, a cornerstone of senior care in St. Kitts and Nevis, proudly marked its 25th anniversary on August 14th, 2025, with a celebration and awards ceremony. The esteemed event was held under the patronage of the Governor-General, Her Excellency Dame Marcella Liebert, highlighting the facility's significant contribution to the nation's healthcare landscape. The commemoration served as a moment to reflect on 2 decades and a half of unwavering commitment to providing high-quality care for the elderly. During her poignant reflections, Pat Richards, leader, shared the remarkable journey of the institution from its nascent stages to its current standing as an international, modern, and fully equipped care unit. She revealed the deeply personal motivation behind her dedication, stemming from a desire to
back to a community that gave birth to me and nurtured me until my early teens, when I was able to go to London and continue my studies.
Richards' leader recounted how her mother, Anne,
Educated and intelligent laborer,
despite societal limitations, instilled in her the value of education, working 3 jobs to ensure her children's future. This profound upbringing fueled Richards' return to St. Kitts in 1994, armed with a master's thesis on the knowledge and uses of medicine and plants, and a burning desire to document the invaluable oral history of the older folk, a knowledge base she felt was critically underappreciated and underdocumented, leading to the inception of the Grange. Richards detailed the initial challenges, including transforming a complete forest into the picturesque facility seen today and securing a loan from the Development Bank to open the Grange on August 14, 2000, with just 3 residents. She acknowledged the crucial support of individuals like Dr. Mervyn Lawrence, who has been with the facility since its inception, and Sister Elizabeth Woodley, a volunteer who came forward during the early days and continues to assist. The facility's growth was significantly bolstered by a trust fund from the family of the late Father Shamans, which enabled the expansion and creation of the assisted living wing. Richards emphasized the Grange's commitment to non-discrimination, welcoming anyone in need of care, and highlighted recent advancements, including 85% of staff being dementia-trained and the implementation of advanced beds and security measures, all while maintaining that the Grange, though high-functioning, remains a loving home rather than a hospital. Natasha Gray Brooks, leader of the People's Action Movement, during the party's press conference on August 12, 2025, emphasized the critical need for St. Kitts and Nevis to broaden its economic identity beyond its traditional allure of sun, sand, and beaches. Brooks highlighted the vulnerabilities exposed by the COVID-19 pandemic and the declining revenue from the Citizenship by Investment (CBI) program, underscoring the urgency for diversification. She articulated a vision for a more resilient economy by fostering local skills, promoting food security, and embracing innovation. Brooks pointed to the entrepreneurial spirit observed during the pandemic as a testament to the latent potential within the population.
As it relates to the diversification of the economy, our country needs it badly. We've learned from COVID that tourism can be a fragile industry. From all the different changes, our revenue stream in CBI has dropped. We are recognizing that we can't be too dependent on the CBI. One of the things that I was happy to see during the COVID period is that we saw a number of skills being honed by our individuals, our people here. You look on social media, you see people posting their lovely delicacies. You see people doing their backyard gardening. I think there's a gentleman from your constituency, I think his name is Lewis, maybe? Growing grapes that we buy in the supermarket. I'm not sure if I have the correct name, but not sea grapes. He's growing the grapes that we buy, the seedless ones, in rams. We can teach our people that.
She passionately advocated for initiatives that empower citizens to develop their talents, citing examples of individuals honing culinary skills and engaging in backyard gardening. A key proposal she outlined was a Made in St. Kitts export initiative aiming to reduce the nation's reliance on food imports.
We have Troy to show them how food security can be dealt with in different spheres. We have to make sure that we have different opportunities. Let people develop their skills. One of the things that I want to see us do is a Made in St. Kitts export initiative. Azad has been speaking about it all the time, about Samuel Duggins. First, the buzzwords were the 25 by 25 agenda. Now they say that they have extended it. But he said that he will keep the timelines that St. Kitts and Nevis had. We have 4 more months in the year, and we are going to hold him to it. Because there has to be a reduction in our food import bill.
Brooks also stressed the importance of creating a financial services and technology hub to foster an innovative environment, recognizing the natural aptitude of the younger generation for technology.
He's also the minister when it comes to entertainment. And so, yes, we take people from one country to the next, but show us the results now. That we now have these results as a result of this initiative. Financial services, there are creative ways that people can deal with our finances and technology. We need to have a financial services and technology hub so we can welcome an environment that is innovative, not just in finance, but in technology. My 3-year-old, I believe she knows my password for my phone. But these children, like, they're born with a different type of skill. They're making us older ones to shame. And I grew up in an era where, when I was working at Richard Kane's business, it was a lot of writing and typing. So I still kind of old school. I go to court with my diary, the physical one, and I see the 20-year-old lawyer swiping the phone. Lord, I feel shame. But I still pretend that I'm 20, and I try to get a little up to the time. But we also have to do a little bit more to make the youth feel that there is some kind of promise for them. Tourism. Yes, there's nothing wrong with cruise tourism, but we must have a sustainable tourism development so we can focus on high value and eco-friendly tourism. We need to make sure that we embrace our natural environment rather than this mass tourism that strains our resources.
Brooks affirmed her party's commitment to tangible action, assuring the public that their promises are not mere rhetoric.
So there are a number of things that we have in store. And I would want to unveil a number of them now, but I want the ordinary man and woman to understand that this is not just politicians speaking the good talk. We're going to walk the walk with them. We're going to break it down for them, because these people in our country are suffering and they need something to hang on to, and we must present that opportunity for them. So St. Kitts and Nevis must not just be known for the sand and the beaches. We are going to be known for a lot more. We are going to be known for a lot more.
The PAM leader suggests that St. Kitts and Nevis possesses the potential to be recognized for its diverse strengths far beyond its current image as a leisure destination.
Sean K. Richards, opposition member and parliamentary representative for St. Christopher 5, accused the government of St. Kitts and Nevis of ruining the national economy, citing a growing public debt burden. During a People's Action Movement press conference on Tuesday, August 12, Richards criticized the administration's economic decisions and further cited a deepened cost of living crisis and failure to stimulate the economy.
I don't think there's any secret that this government has ruined the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis. The government has definitely demonstrated that it doesn't know how to manage the finances of the Federation. If you look at the recent IMF report, you would recognize that the IMF has said that in terms of where we're heading, we are not in a good place. We expect that the debt is going to climb to some 72% of GDP by the year 2030. You speak to persons in government, and they're saying to you that the government is broke, the government bankrupt. They would indicate to you that very recently, they received correspondence saying to them, cut their budgets by 25%. It's in spite of all of the things that you're hearing out there about how good the performance is, the reality is that the government has bankrupted the country.
Richards pointed out that ordinary citizens and businesses are bearing the brunt of poor fiscal planning.
So, of course, if the government has no money, and the government is one of the major spenders within the economy, no money is circulating. And if no money is circulating, of course, people will not have money to spend. You see it now in terms of the businesses. You spoke about foreign direct investment. But I think even before we start speaking about foreign direct investment, we have an obligation to our own local businesses here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and they're closing down. They're going out of business.
Rising inflation, unemployment, and a spike in food and fuel prices are amongst the concerns that continue to be raised amongst the populace. Richards said the government has a duty to stimulate the economy so that businesses can thrive and people can be employed.
Take a walk along 4th Street and tell me if when you looked at 4th Street 3-4 years ago and compare it to the 4th Street that you're seeing now, tell me how many local businesses are on 4th Street. Almost every business on 4th Street now is owned by a foreigner. So we have the locals gone. The locals no longer can afford to do business here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. When you're going to increase the cost of electricity, when within a 2-year period, you're going to increase the minimum wage, it will have an impact on local businesses. When you as a government, when you are broke, it means that you cannot afford to spend money on capital projects. And these projects help to stimulate the economy. When the economy is stimulated, businesses are able to expand, they're able to hire persons.
Richards raised the concerns that the much publicized boom in the tourism sector, particularly the government's celebration of cruise arrivals and numbers, may not be reality. He highlighted that information from the IMF country report for St. Kitts and Nevis suggests otherwise.
The tourism season has come to an end. You look in the IMF report, and it is saying to you that despite all that you're hearing from this government about how glorious tourism is that in terms of particular cruise ship visitors, we are not even back to where we were in the year 2019. But they're telling you, we bring the largest ship here. We bring more ships here. Tourism has expanded. We have opened our borders. And yet, despite all of the cruise ships and all of the talks that you're hearing, that is the reality. The government doesn't care about the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
The opposition member also argued that the government's emphasis on entertainment, while failing to purchase 2 new ambulances, shows a breakdown in its economic priorities.
When you're going to purchase 2 ambulances, 2 old ambulances, what it says to you? How could you pay a man to come here for music festival, give him $4 million, and can't afford to buy 2 brand new ambulances to transport people to take care of them? It sends a message that the priority is not about the health and the safety of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. The priority is about entertainment and making you feel happy while you forget the reality of what is happening on the ground. And this is a government that is failing us, a government that we need to get rid of, and get rid of them as fast as possible.
Richards' statements comes amidst concerns of economic challenges, another budget cycle, and an approaching election campaign season, which some anticipate would heighten in 2026. There are also growing calls for more accountability and public consultation in economic decision-making.
In a recent press conference held on August 12, 2025, Natasha Grape Brooks, the leader of the People's Action Movement, PAM, introduced the party's People First agenda, sharply criticizing the 3-year tenure of the current administration.
I am here before you not just as a politician, but as a mother, a daughter of this soil, and a proud member of the People's Action Movement, a party founded on the principle of putting people first. After 3 years under the Drew-led administration, the reality is clear. Our country is burdened by rising costs, weakened security, secrecy in governance, and squandered opportunities. Today, I will highlight the most urgent issues facing our Federation and present our alternative, the People First agenda. It is time to change St. Kitts and Nevis from a top-down reactive approach.
The People First agenda is structured around 6 core pillars: reclaiming food security by empowering the Ministry of Agriculture to partner with farmers, revitalizing the economy through real investment, lowering living costs and youth opportunities, fostering proactive governance and diplomacy to restore transparency and credibility, modernizing infrastructure as the foundation of the economy and quality of life, enhancing accountability and transparency to rebuild trust in government, and diversifying the economy to safeguard against global shocks. Brooks highlighted specific concerns including rising violent crime and alleged human trafficking operations, lamenting the lack of transparency from security authorities.
This is not about changing the government. It's about changing how the government works for you, the people. Look at our national security. Safety demands transparency. Violent crime is rising, and public confidence is falling. The recent uncovering of human trafficking operations in our federation has stained our nation's name internationally. Neither the police nor the Ministry of National Security has been forthcoming about the scope of the problem or the actions being taken. The People's Action Movement will invest in community policing and youth programs to prevent crime before it starts. We will equip the police with modern tools, training, and manpower. And we are committed to open, timely communication on major security matters to rebuild trust and hope at home and abroad.
Brooks further criticized the escalating cost of living with rising prices for essentials and stagnant wages, dismissing government initiatives as temporary bandages, not solutions.
Our cost of living, it is a daily struggle not just for the ordinary man and woman, but for every single citizen and resident in our federation. The prices for groceries, fuel, and electricity keep climbing, while the wages remain stagnant. Small businesses are suffocating, and government quick fixes like the budget boost wallet are temporary bandages, not solutions. Under a People's Action Movement administration, we will launch a cost of living task force to cut duties on essential goods. Support local production to reduce dependence on imports. And we will definitely strengthen small businesses as job creators and economic anchors.
The PAM leader also raised concerns about the Bastia High School project, citing a lack of transparency regarding contractors and funding, lambasted the current administration's housing initiatives as a betrayal, vowing PAM would deliver homes, not promises, and criticized other issues.
Our standing in the world, we now have a damaged reputation. The administration's poor diplomacy has led to a 10% US tariff on our exports and threats to restrict travel for our citizens due to the CBI mismanagement. These crises were predictable and avoidable. PAM will reform the CBI program to meet the highest international standards. We will proactively engage international partners before problems escalate. And we will rebuild the country's credibility and protect our passport's value. The past 3 years, transparency is missing in critical areas. Lack of financial audits. We don't have enough information on major contracts. And we are kept in the dark in relation to national decision-making. Citizens are being left without a choice about how their lives are affected. The People's Action Movement promises and will deliver and will restore public access to government information. We will implement strong accountability measures and independent oversight. The last 3 years have been marked by secrecy, broken promises, and PAM offers a different path, one where people come first in every decision. We are ready to lead with transparency, competence, and vision. We are ready to restore safety, reduce the cost of living, create real opportunities, and rebuild the trust at home and abroad.
Concluding her address, Brooks asserted that the current state of the country is not a game, suggesting major deficiencies in the current administration's handling of the country.
This is not a game. This is not about the People's Action Movement. This is not about the Labour Party or any political party. This is about our home, St. Kitts and Nevis. It's about our children, our grandparents, and our future. Dr. Drew and his team, they've had their chance. They've had their photo ops and their empty promises. While they were busy building a facade, our communities continue to crumble. Our people are struggling, and our nation's potential is being left behind. But I say no more, because today we are not just about announcing a new direction. We are announcing that the people are taking back our power. The change we need is coming, and it's coming on the people's terms, for our benefit, and with a force that will echo across every street, every alley, and every household of this great federation.
Leader of the People's Action Movement, Natasha Gray Brooks. The National Assembly of St. Kitts and Nevis passed pivotal amendments to its Banking Act on August 11, 2025, significantly bolstering the regulatory capabilities of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB. These legislative updates are designed to fortify protection for depositors and borrowers and to ensure the overall stability and fairness of the financial sector across the region. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Honourable Dr. Terence Drew, who moved the Banking Amendment Bill 2025, highlighted the collaborative effort behind the changes.
These changes are a result of thorough collective processes. The ECCB's legal and supervisory teams developed the proposals. They were discussed with our ministries of finance and other stakeholders, and critically, the ECCU Monetary Council agreed on them before this bill came to our Parliament. This bill is therefore the product of broad consultation and regional consensus.
The amendment introduces a comprehensive framework empowering the ECCB with modern tools to oversee financial institutions more effectively. Key reforms include updating definitions to align with contemporary banking practices, enabling banks to offer new services under strict oversight, and tightening rules for license revocation. The amendment also brings currency exchange operations under ECCB regulation, strengthens controls on profit distribution and related party lending, and regulates outsourcing and property leasing arrangements. Dr. Drew emphasized the customer-centric nature of these amendments.
For the everyday man and woman, this means easier access to fair financial services, better protection for savings, and more trust that the bank you choose will treat you right.
He further explained the specifics, including a ban on shell banks and risky relationships with them, enhanced risk-based supervision, and the power for the ECCB
to cap excessive fees. Madam Speaker, establishes a framework for fair treatment of customers. So this is customer friendly.
In addition to the Banking Amendment Bill 2025, the National Assembly also debated and passed the Eastern Caribbean Asset Management Cooperation Agreement Amendment Bill 2025. Prime Minister Drew explained the targeted nature of this amendment.
What we seek here is to make sure that protection is covered on all fronts, are guaranteed on all fronts. This bill changes that in a targeted way. It will amend Section 5A so that two specific parts of the Banking Act will now apply to ECAMC. These provisions set out the rules for winding up a bank, how a receiver is appointed, how assets are managed, and how the process is completed. Madam Speaker, by applying Part 10 to ECAMC, it ensures that if ECAMC ever needs to be wound up itself, there's a clear, tested, and regionally consistent process in law, Madam Speaker. Let us look at Section 178. Now, the secrecy of information. This section requires directors, officers, and employees of a bank to keep customer information confidential, Madam Speaker. Very important, except in certain permitted circumstances. But confidentiality in the banking sector is extremely important. People don't want to have the money in a bank and other people talking about, how much you got there because the information was leaked. But applying this rule to ECAMC strengthens the legal protection of sensitive information it handles when managing distressed assets, reassuring the public that privacy is safeguarded.
Minister of Infrastructure et al., the Honourable Conrad Maynard, echoed the importance of the amendment for systemic stability.
So on the surface, Madam Speaker, it may seem to be a very simple amendment, but it addresses, an important matter for stability and clarity of our financial system.
He underscored that this targeted application ensures the ECAMC operates within a robust regulatory environment while acknowledging its unique mandate.
The ECAMC is really no ordinary institution. It was created by our Eastern Caribbean Currency Union through a multilateral agreement to deal with one of the most challenging issues that any banking sector can face. That is the problem of distressed or non-performing assets. These are loans and other assets that, if left unresolved, can erode bank balance sheets, they can threaten depositors' confidence, and they can weaken the stability of the entire financial sector. So the ECAMC's job is really to step in and perhaps even acquire these troubled assets from financial institutions, manage them professionally, and work to recover value over time. Now, in doing so, it relieves our banks and our credit unions of a heavy burden and allows them to refocus on what their core mission is, of course, which is serving customers, providing credit, and driving economic growth.
This bill clarifies the application of specific sections of the Banking Act to the Eastern Caribbean Asset Management Corporation, ECAMC, particularly concerning winding up procedures and information confidentiality. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis has enacted a pivotal piece of legislation, the Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Bill 2025, on August 11, 2025, marking a significant stride toward sustainable economic transformation. The bill is designed to attract high-quality foreign direct investment, diversify the national economy, and create long-term job opportunities, all while safeguarding the Federation's environment and sovereignty. Prime Minister the Honourable Dr. Terence Drew, who led the debate, emphasized the bill's critical role in the nation's future.
This bill gives our country a practical tool to attract foreign direct investment and create long-term job opportunities while protecting our environment. It is a framework for doing big projects the right way.
He further elaborated on the foundational principles.
This bill is historic, Madam Speaker, and this is, of course, in keeping, as I said before, with our Sustainable Island State agenda, because it is the first piece of legislation to weave all 7 pillars directly into a law. It says in black and white that any special sustainability zone must advance multiple pillars, so our development strengthens people and planet together.
Dr. Drew highlighted the need for economic diversification beyond the current mainstays.
We need new engines, clean energy, resilient housing, agri-tech, health and education services, green manufacturing, logistics and technology.
Leader of the Opposition and Premier of Nevis, the Honourable Mark Brantley, voiced his strong support for the bill, echoing the sentiment for economic diversification. Brantley stressed the urgency of moving away from heavy reliance on the Citizenship by Investment CBI program.
I believe that the signs are clear all around us that the Citizenship by Investment goose that has laid the golden eggs for us for the past 2 decades, that there are some serious headwinds, Madam Speaker, involving that particular sector.
He praised the innovative approach.
St. Kitts and Nevis is, as always, I want to emphasize that, St. Kitts and Nevis is, as always, stepping out ahead of the region. Whether it was CBI, way back in 1984, we not only stepped out ahead of the region, we stepped out ahead of the world, because we gave the world that idea. We are now again looking to innovate by saying, here's an idea that has worked elsewhere, but has not yet been put into practice and into effect in the English-speaking Caribbean to the extent that it can drive economic development and economic diversification in a way that we need it to do here in our country.
He concluded by emphasizing the robust safeguards within the bill.
What I like about this structure is that it tells you that at every step of the way there are safeguards. I think the language used by the move was guardrails. But guardrails, safeguards, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. They are the necessary safeguards to ensure oversight, to ensure that if a zone is declared on St. Kitts, naturally the government of the day would have those safeguards in place and that oversight. And similarly, in Nevis, the government of the day would have those safeguards and oversight. It also, in the structure of the bill, requires that matters concerning these zones, governance, development agreements, that they come to the Parliament. Now that is a quantum leap forward.
The legislation is the first in the nation's history to directly integrate the 7 pillars of the Sustainable Island State Agenda: water security, energy transition, food security, sustainable industry, sustainable settlements, circular economy, and social protection into law. St. Kitts and Nevis is witnessing a significant positive impact on its marine biodiversity through the innovative use of conch shell artificial reefs. Introduced via the Coast Fish Project, these reefs are meticulously designed to create crucial habitats, particularly for lobsters, and are fostering a more sustainable marine ecosystem. The initiative underscores a strong commitment to marine conservation and co-management efforts between local communities and the Department of Marine Resources. Vaughn Sturge, Marine Resource Assistant for the St. Kitts and Nevis Department of Marine Resources, detailed the construction and deployment process of these impactful reefs.
Basically what we are doing now, we have the steel cages that are filled with the conch shells and the blocks to create a marine habitat for lobsters. We deploy the cages, we put the cinder blocks at the bottom where we create a space for the lobsters to hide, and then we fill the cages with conch shells. At the top of the artificial reef, we install an artificial seaweed which captures the post-larvae of the lobsters. From there, they will venture down into the conch shells where they will find shelter and food. And from there, they will venture off to nearby reefs to help repopulate the stock of lobsters. So, to the community of St. Kitts and Nevis, we ask that you support the fishers in helping us with these artificial reefs.
This comprehensive approach not only provides shelter but also supports the early life stages of lobsters, contributing to their wider dispersal and population growth. The success of the Coast Fish Project is a testament to strong collaborative efforts and international support. Director Randall Thompson expressed gratitude.
We want to thank the people of Japan, JICA, ICNet for their support in making the Coast Fish Project a reality. The Department of Marine Resources is committed to seeing the government's Sustainable Island State Agenda come to life by improving marine habitat and also by implementing sustainable fishing practices.
This project exemplifies a shared vision for a sustainable island state, emphasizing both habitat improvement and responsible fishing practices for long-term marine health. The Twin Island Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis is actively seeking to diversify its economy and build a sustainable future, with Prime Minister the Honourable Dr. Terence Drew extending a direct invitation to Qatari investors to partner in this transformative journey. In an interview with Doha News, Dr. Drew underscored the significant opportunities available in key sectors, emphasizing the nation's commitment to becoming the world's first sustainable island state. Prime Minister Drew highlighted the tremendous opportunity for Qatar-Caribbean partnership focused on sustainable growth, particularly in tourism and renewable energy. The Prime Minister noted the country's advantageous position in the Caribbean, one of the world's premier tourist regions, making it ripe for real estate investment and the expansion of its tourism product.
I have come to recognize that there are efforts to diversify the economy, which means investments locally and internationally as well. Here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and being situated in the beautiful Caribbean, one of the most touristic regions in the world, there's much opportunity for real estate investment, especially in the tourism sector. That, of course, is an excellent way. Why? We have beautiful beaches, beautiful shorelines that can be developed to meet the international market as we expand our tourism product. For example, I can say that we now have an investment from Safe Harbor, which is owned by a company called Blackstone, which is going to invest heavily in Christopher Harbor, which is to be developed into a major super yachting destination in the Caribbean. And therefore, I think even in that type of development and around that development that we call Christopher Harbor, where there are acres and acres of land available for real estate development, this is an area in which I think businessmen in Qatar can look to in terms of investing in the Caribbean. The other thing they can invest in is in the energy sector. It may not be oil and gas, but there are other opportunities such as geothermal. We have, I think, the largest known reserve that is accessible for geothermal in the region. Geothermal, comes from the volcanic activity that produces heat and can lead to energy. We also have solar energy, we have wind energy available. So in the renewable energy space, we have tremendous opportunity.
Prime Minister Drew underscored the importance of stronger ties with Qatar, highlighting shared values concerning climate action, sustainable development, and global cooperation.
I know Qatar and St. Kitts and Nevis established official diplomatic relations in 2017. It has been some time. And I think developing a relationship with Qatar can be helpful on multiple levels. Why do I say that? Qatar is a small country, relatively small. It has been blessed with significant natural resources, especially in the oil and gas area. And it's a country that has used it significantly for its own economic development, social development, political, and so forth. And so that is very admirable. But even though we are somewhat far apart, there are many things that we share in common. We are both countries, we are members of the United Nations, I would say that. And there are issues that we share. For example, the issue of climate change and sustainable development. I think our strategy here is to develop a sustainable St. Kitts and Nevis to deal with the issues of climate change. And I know Qatar has, to some extent, helped in those areas, not just country to country, but on an international basis. And Qatar has also helped with CARICOM, the wider Caribbean community of which we are part. So definitely there is a relationship. So our shared principles or shared vision on multiple things, those things we can join hand in hand to help to formulate a better world, a more progressive world.
Dr. Drew elaborated on a pivotal initiative, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which will play a critical role in the nation's financial, tourism, and energy sector development, as well as disaster management.
The Sovereign Wealth Fund would allow investments to be made, and that resource would be used to develop critical areas in St. Kitts and Nevis. You'll have an investment arm to develop critical areas. For example, as I said before, the ports, infrastructure, the financial sector. When we look at the areas of hospitality, tourism, energy, and so forth, all these areas. So the Sovereign Wealth Fund will create a fund that allows us to be able to have the necessary investments to develop these, what we call, game changers, investments that would shift the direction of St. Kitts and Nevis. So that is what we are looking with respect to our Sovereign Wealth Fund. It has another arm, which is an arm to deal with natural disasters, as you know, with climate change and so forth, and the disasters that are happening across the world, and of course here in the region as well. That would allow us to have, I would say, funding secured just in case we have to deal with any acute natural disaster as such. So the Sovereign Wealth Fund is really to help to accelerate our achieving the sustainable island state through strategic investments.
This comprehensive approach aims to ensure that the wealth of the nation is utilized judiciously, securing a lasting legacy for future generations and driving St. Kitts and Nevis towards its ambitious sustainability goals. Discussions at the United Nations to develop a new framework for international tax cooperation, a move that could significantly reshape global tax governance, were recently held. The United Nations General Assembly has established an intergovernmental negotiating committee to draft a United Nations Framework Convention on International Tax Cooperation and 2 early protocols. This proposed international legal instrument aims to improve global tax cooperation, with the member state-led process expected to run from 2025 to 2027. Striving for a truly inclusive and more effective international international tax system. At the first working session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee for drafting the United Nations Framework Convention on International Tax Cooperation, the Honourable Garth Wilkin, Minister of Legal and Justice Affairs for St. Kitts and Nevis, delivered remarks on behalf of the Caribbean community, CARICOM. Minister Wilkin was recently elected as a vice chair on this very committee. In his statement, Minister Wilkin emphasized the unique challenges faced by small island developing states.
Chair, distinguished delegates, I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the 14 member states of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM. CARICOM warmly welcomes the establishment of the Intergovernmental Committee pursuant to General Assembly Resolution 79-235, which recognized the urgent need to develop a truly inclusive and effective framework for international tax cooperation. For too long, small island developing states and other developing countries have been marginalized in global tax governance, operating within systems that inadequately address our unique challenges and development needs. The current international tax architecture presents significant barriers to CARICOM member states in their pursuit of sustainable development, particularly in the taxation of cross-border services and the resolution of tax disputes. As highlighted in workstream discussions, many CARICOM countries depend on gross basis withholding taxes as a practical means of taxing non-resident service providers due to limited administrative capacities. However, this approach is often hindered by restrictive bilateral tax treaties that prevent the implementation of preferred taxation methods. As a result, our member states are subjected to an inequitable system in which complex transfer pricing rules, better suited to residence-based taxation models in developed economies, place undue strain on our already limited resources. This is why CARICOM believes the Framework Convention we craft must be anchored in the principle that efforts in international tax cooperation should be universal in approach and scope, and should fully take into account the different needs and capacities of all countries, as stated in the Addis Ababa Action Agenda on Financing for Development. For CARICOM, this means ensuring that the Framework Convention provides practical solutions to our revenue mobilization challenges, while respecting our sovereign right to design tax systems appropriate to our circumstances. The Framework Convention must facilitate, not hinder, our efforts to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you, Chair.
The push for the United Nations Tax Convention has a significant historical background, building on the Addis Ababa Action Agenda of 2015. This agenda called for stronger international tax cooperation and more inclusive global tax governance. The chosen legal format, a framework convention, is similar to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This structure would outline objectives, principles, high-level commitments, and an organizational structure with detailed rules to be negotiated and added as protocols. Despite the broad support, challenges remain. Discussions in New York in April and May, as well as preceding workshops, revealed significant differences, largely splitting the world into two camps. The Global South generally anticipates a major role for new United Nations institutions in rewriting international tax rules, aiming for greater taxing rights for developing countries. Conversely, a bloc of countries, including major OECD and EU members, prefer that new developments consider existing international tax rules and ongoing OECD work. Issues such as capacity building and domestic resource mobilization, while seemingly universally agreeable, have also highlighted these divisions. The recent discussions at the United Nations headquarters focused on drafting the terms of reference for the Framework Convention. The outcome of these negotiations will be a key indicator of the project's success and the future direction of international tax cooperation. You were listening to the Week in Review here on WINN FM 98.9. Thank you for listening and have a productive week.